One of the big principles that most sales processes in the mortgage industry are missing is the principle of risk management or risk transference, transferring risk. And the principle of risk goes like this. The riskier something is, the less likely a consumer is to buy it, the harder the decision is going to be, the more information they're going to need to make that decision. I'll give you an example. If you wanted to buy a t-shirt, you would just go to the store, you probably wouldn't even try it on, you know your size, you pick the color out you like, you go and you buy it. At the end you get a receipt. It's not a big deal. It's a $20 purchase. What are you risking? Well, you're risking 20 bucks, but you're really not, because at the end of the day, if you don't like the way it feels or fits, or it shrinks too much, or the color, or you get a run in it, you know, a thread comes out, you have a receipt, you just take that thing back and you can return it. So you don't have to stress about that decision very much. It's a very easy decision to make because the risk is very, very small. So let's talk about a mortgage. A mortgage tends to be or your home tends to be the single biggest liability you have, the single largest payment, usually, hopefully, the single largest asset that most consumers have, or 99% of the consumers we're going to deal with. And also, let's face it, it's their home, right? It's where their family lives, it's where they keep all their stuff, it's where they're emotionally connected. Right? So there is probably nothing that I can think of outside of an operation on some family member that is a riskier decision for a consumer to make, right, than to mess with the status quo of their mortgage. And yet, we want to tackle that in the first 2 minutes of any conversation with a consumer that we're not equipped to do. And what happens is it tends to lead to many, many, many bad outcomes. Right? And what does that look like to you? It looks like a low conversion rate. That's why there's such a low conversion rate in the mortgage industry, is because we are not dealing with the transference of risk. Okay? So the principle, the riskier something is, right, the bigger the benefit. Just think of this as a balance beam. This benefit would have to be much bigger. So when consumers come to you and the argument is, well, you know, then why do any consumers do it? Well, some consumers already know that they have a problem, right, that this can solve, and that their benefit is big enough to outweigh the risk. Right? But in most cases, we want to talk about something that's very, very risky, and we want to talk about this abstract form of benefit, potentially saving money, and potentially consolidating debt. That is a very abstract concept to consumers. In converse to that, I would proffer that the best way to sell a mortgage is not to sell a mortgage. The best way to sell a mortgage actually is to try not to sell a mortgage at all, which is to sell information. So if you've ever said to yourself, I really wish I knew then what I know today, what you're really saying is, man, that information, had I had it before, had I had it yesterday, last week, last month, last year, 5 years ago, would have been really valuable to me. But the fact that I have it today isn't nearly as valuable. And if you've ever said that to yourself, and you have a consumer who's ever said to themselves, then you know that the value of information is very high, right? The value is high. And the risk to getting information, what is the risk to getting information? Zero. There's zero risk in information. What's the worst thing you're going to do? Find out there's something better for you out there that's going to help you, right? And even then, no one's holding a gun to your head and making you do it, so you have zero risk in getting information. If you want to sell more mortgages, it's really simple. Sell information, right? Sell an analysis. Sell them on the idea that they could get information today that would be valuable, that if they found out about it a year down the road, they would wish that they had it a year ago, because it's not nearly as beneficial today as it would have been back then. And if you can do that, you'll sell more mortgages by not selling mortgages.